of chocolate, so if I begin to speak very, very fast here in the show, just remember, I'm eating a lot of chocolate, Tanya. And we want to thank some folks.
Deanne Walsh for doing this. Ken's mother, Deanne Walsh. Ken is on our cruise. She sent us some cookies, as if we don't have enough sugar today, Deanne.
That was very nice.
Some cookies for us. Girl Scout cookies. They have some great ones this year.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to eating Girl Scout cookies either.
I'm not opposed to eating any cookie.
Yeah.
Usually.
So we thank you very much. And you know what? We were talking about Swiss chocolate, Belgian chocolate. I just want to make a plug for Hershey's. I always eat Hershey's chocolate when I was a kid out of Pennsylvania. So there you go.
With us is Andrea Goeglein talking about serving success. I like that.
Yeah.
Well, that is the name. That is the name of my company, Serving Success. And what I do on my website is, as we do here, I review different books and we do different teleseminars and things of that nature. And this month's selection is a Phil McGraw, the Dr. Phil, of great renown. I chose his very first book that made him famous, and it was after an incident with Oprah, and that's how he came in.
He was a regular on her show for
a
number
of years.
Yes, he became a regular on her show because he had helped her through the mad cow trials in Texas.
Oh yeah,
and he had been the psychologist hired to help. Many times when attorneys go to trial, they will have psychologists who help read the jurors and help the person who is on trial keep their composure to the point where someone will be able to relate to them better, that the jury relates to them. And that was his role, and that's how he met Oprah.
Very interesting.
And since we've been doing this series, you know, Tanya, I have been led by something that you said in one of the original clips, and that was that, you know, this stuff has been around forever. And so what I have been doing is choosing books that generally have been published 5 to 10 years ago. And to show that, in fact, the things that are in these books are really good wisdom, and the only thing that matters is you actually applying them. And the Life Strategies book that Phil McGraw wrote at the time, when I came across it because I had heard about the trials and how he had come into fame, and I really liked his segments when he was doing those small once-a-week segments. 5 days a week of therapy on TV is a bit much. I don't think anyone should be spending 5 days a week in therapy on TV or otherwise. And what happened was, I really became attracted to that book, and it was such a wonderful thing because he had 10 life laws and 10 little strategies. And I would play games with these 10 life laws and 10 life strategies, and we can do it right now. You know, I would say to someone, you know, just randomly close your eyes and put your finger anywhere on the page. And
for the strategies?
Right, for the strategies. Okay, who wants to go first? Tell me the one you got.
Well, ladies first.
Ladies first.
Number 5, life rewards action.
Okay.
Make careful decisions and then pull the trigger.
Super. Now, if you'll remember from the very first book we had, Canfield's, you know, success principles.
Yes, I remember that one. Yes.
Taking action. So many people have their dreams, create visions, do all of the mechanics except take action. And what McGraw does in this book is take you through that whole process of, okay, so you think you're doing all of these things, but the only time you get a reward, good or bad, is if you take action. And if it's something that was not the way you wanted it to be, then that means that you adjust it. But what is important is that you continually take action.
You know, that's such a good point, because most times, even when you're sitting strategizing at a conference table or at a board table, you're throwing all these ideas, and until you implement them, that's all they are. They're ideas laying on the table.
Absolutely.
And
that's where. And what was yours?
Oh, mine is you cannot change what you do not acknowledge. And it says, get real with yourself about your life and everybody in it.
Yeah. You know, not being able to change, you know, I am not a fan, in positive psychology, to which I am grounded, is not a fan of you regurgitating your story too much, but unless you know and have written down the story that you generally tell, because whether we're aware of it or not, when we meet new people in particular, within a very short period of time, there are a list of stories that we will tell them about ourselves. And until we acknowledge what those stories are and craft them in a way that actually propels you forward and tells your story in a way that you have learned something and are moving forward, it may not be the most helpful. So being able to acknowledge what your story is, and then what the stories are of the people around you, that's a very, very important step.
Good point.
Because you were talking about talking or
Yes.
whatever, telling the story over and over. You can't talk something to death.
Absolutely not. One of the things, and this was one of the reasons I was the most attracted to Phil McGraw. You know, he came onto the scene in the late 90s. I think it was maybe 98 or so, 97, and started being on Oprah's show. We had gone through 2 solid decades of talk therapy, where we as a nation became victims in our own minds. Instead of telling the story from the standpoint of resilience and how I became a champion because of adversities, we were going to hug our adversity to death, and it was, you know, people would identify themselves as, I've got this, I've got that.
Right,
It would be the first thing out of their mouth, and it's like, okay.
The victim. You always wanted to be the victim.
And that was a mistake of talk therapy. One of the things that the more current research has shown is that telling your story is important, but then recrafting it is really what's important. Going through decades of telling the same story is not what is going to move you forward.
Excellent. Andrea is going to stay with us.
Yes, she is.
We're going to hear more and maybe even get to pick some more
That's exactly right.
of life's laws when we come back. Stay where you're at.
I have to tell you.
Dr. Andrea Goeglein, an executive mentor, talking about serving success. That is the name of her business. 10 life laws and strategies we were talking about when we went to commercial break. Talking about talking things to death and just taking action. You like number 8.
Yes. One of my all-time favorites that I used a lot in my practice with clients when I first was using, when this book first came out in the late 90s, and I was teaching this particular one, and it is, we teach other people how to treat us. I attracted to that because there is a rule in my business that says that you teach what you need to learn. Okay? So, in my life at that time, my husband and I, we had an adolescent daughter who gratefully is no longer an adolescent daughter.
Oh, our sympathies to you. Our condolences.
High maintenance. High maintenance.
Yeah.
Well, we had what I affectionately call the dark decade, and we were somewhere in the first few years of the dark decade, and I was pretty confused because here I am, quite well versed in behavior, and I know how to treat people, and I know why people behave the way they do, and I've got to tell you, it wasn't pretty at all.
Well, I think there's a lot of people in that same sinking boat.
Yes.
Let me make you feel better.
Yes.
You had 3.
Oh no.
You only had 3 daughters. And they all turned out wonderfully, but they all go through that stage.
Yes,
And it's like they're telling us, and we don't teach them
Correct.
how we want to be treated.
And I have got to tell you, at that point, there I was reading these 10 life laws, and that one jumped out at me. And I realized that, in fact, that what I was doing was teaching her how it was okay to treat me back. And so every time I responded to her elevated voice, which generally didn't have a nice message attached to the other end of it, with my even deeper elevated voice, which had even a less nice message attached to it, I was basically teaching her, you know, just keep up in the ante, just keep up in the ante. And so I took that personally. And I applied it. If I wanted her to treat me differently, I obviously had to teach from a different place. And like all things, when you do teach different things and you are in the process of learning, you know, there is another line that says that when you are a carpenter, everything is a nail. And that is one of the things that's very, very true when you pick up self-improvement books. The thing that jumps out at you generally is that thing that whether you're aware of it or
That
not.
you're
at that
wrestling with?
Absolutely.
Do you think? Yeah.
Oh, yes.
I didn't mean to steal your
It
thunder.
is, no, but that
you
is.
did.
But I did.
And so I want to start working you guys back and forth and see if we can get some
Yes.
volume
Yes.
here.
Yeah, and that's exactly what does so happen. Something jumps out at you, and it's jumping out at you because somewhere in your life at that moment there is someone or something or some business situation that really is replicating that, and you can see it. You know, I will be the person who admits that the first kind of self-help book that I ever read, I read it and I could see all of my friends in that book.
But not you.
Not me.
Because you be the perfect one.
Oh, I absolutely,
Let's go to There Is No Reality, because I kind of live in that world.
Yes.
There's only perception.
Correct.
Now, how does that work? Because it says here, let's see, identify the filters through which you view the world.
Well,
rose-colored glasses, perhaps?
Well, rose-colored glasses and even just general perception. There's a beautiful little joke about a woman who goes to Florida and there's a no swimming, please, and a sign on the pool, and she proceeds to get in the pool. The manager comes out, what are you doing? There's a sign. And she said, oh, I thought it said no, swimming, please. Okay, so there is right there perception. There is a reality. The sign says no swimming, please, but my way of interpreting, and that has to do with everything we do in life. You know, when someone responds how you are at any given moment, how you're feeling at any given moment, we'll say, is this a good thing or is this a bad thing? I have a habit of every time I hear something, I just came back from New York with my husband, and in the 3.5 days we were there, 14,000 people got laid off at Bear Stearns. The mayor, the governor had a major scandal, and a new person was brought in, and a crane fell down on a townhouse.
Okay.
That was a 3.5 day period. Coming in on the airplane yesterday where they have TVs, I saw the inaugural of that new governor, and it was singularly one of the most inspiring swearing-in ceremonies. You could feel the energy through the TV. It was so beautiful. And I thought, isn't that interesting? They've just traversed these 3 days, and yet you can raise it up.
Isn't that true? You know, because we watch media all the time, and that's another thing. We watch the television, and this is our real world. The real world is inside that tube with these 90-second sound bites that tell you all the horrendous things going on in life. They don't ever tell you all the good things going on in life. So again, that's perception, isn't it?
Yes.
We perceive it on the TV, on the media, but that isn't reality. Reality is we're living in a pretty good community with good people doing good things every single day of our lives.
Yes, and as you well know, the positive psychology is based in evolutionary psychology, which is very much grounded. As gruesome as it appears on any given moment, when you go back through history, we are actually doing better. And it is hard to relate to unless you study the history, but it is really a point.
I know, if you watch television 24 hours a day, you really don't think you are doing
if you went back where our parents were, my folks went through the Great Depression. You know, the people talking about, oh, woe is me, and this company went out of business, and oh my God, we're not going to make this through this thing. Yes, we are.
Absolutely.
The fact of the matter is yes, we are, and my folks went through that, your folks went through that, and that was a horrendous time. And look how wonderful they came out.
Yeah, and I mean, we are celebrating with our little gold bunnies the Easter week, and if you ever know the stories of Christianity and what that is all about, we do not do today what happened back then. Like when we even saw the picture of that when it was brought to the cinema, we couldn't believe that humans would treat other humans in that manner. That's a very good sign. That's a very hopeful. There are things that are no longer okay to do, and it's just hard to find. But when you have things at the personal level, something as simple as 10 laws that you can follow, and you can say, you know, am I doing this? Am I, you know, just pick one. Don't try and take on all 10. Pick one and say, okay, this is the thing that jumps out at me now. What does it mean?
Do you recommend we buy the book?
I absolutely recommend it. Always, because you can get it very inexpensively at this point, because it's almost 10 years old. So, yes, I always recommend that you get this book.
Gotta love him, huh?
Yes.
Absolutely. Andrea, as always, thank you so very much.
You're very
Inspiring, enlightening conversation.
And we have chocolate mousse without the mousse.